I was sitting in my small Denver apartment, having just transferred $2,800 to cover my family's monthly bills. The familiar warmth filled my chest as I thought about how this money would keep the lights on for my retired parents, cover my brother Danny's college expenses, and help my Aunt Martha through another tough month. At 32, I finally felt like I was making a real difference in their lives. Then my phone buzzed with a message from Aunt Martha, and that warm feeling turned ice cold. Sometimes the truth comes in the most unexpected packages. Before I share what happened next, I would love to know where you are watching from. Please hit that like button and subscribe if my story resonates with you. And trust me, you will want to stick around for what my family said about me when they thought no one was listening. Growing up in Colorado Springs, I was always the responsible one in our middle-class family. Dad Robert worked as a mechanic, his hands permanently stained with grease, while Mom Sandra kept the local elementary school running as their head secretary. My brother Danny, 8 years younger, seemed to float through life without a care in the world, charming everyone with his easy smile and quick wit. I was the planner, the organizer, the one who made sure homework got done and bills got paid on time. Aunt Martha, Mom's younger sister, lived about 20 minutes away in a small rental house. She never married, and her job history read like a revolving door of retail positions and temporary office work. Every few months, she would find herself between jobs struggling to make ends meet. As kids, Danny and I were taught that family helps family no matter what. When I turned 25, I landed a solid accounting position with a mid-sized firm in Denver. My starting salary of $75,000 felt like winning the lottery. I found a modest studio apartment for $800 a month and began building what I thought would be my independent adult life. That independence lasted exactly 6 months. Dad's back injury ended his mechanic career earlier than anyone anticipated. The workers' compensation covered some expenses, but their household income dropped by more than half overnight. I watched my parents stress over bills that had never been a problem before. The electric bill, the water bill, the internet they needed for Dad's physical therapy appointments, everything felt overwhelming to them. Without being asked, I stepped in. $250 for electricity seemed reasonable. $150 for water was manageable. $100 for internet was nothing. These small contributions made such a difference in their daily stress levels that I felt genuinely happy to help. But need has a way of growing. Mom's grocery budget became impossible to stretch, so I added $400 monthly for food. Danny started college, and while he qualified for some financial aid, there was still a gap of $1,200 each month. I covered it without hesitation, remembering how proud I felt watching him walk across the stage at graduation. Then Aunt Martha lost her job at the department store. Her unemployment barely covered rent, leaving nothing for utilities or food. $600 monthly seemed like a small price to pay to keep my aunt housed and fed. I told myself it was temporary just until she got back on her feet. My monthly contributions reached $2,800, nearly 40% of my take-home pay. To make this work, I learned to live like a college student well into my 30s. My studio apartment was fine when I could have afforded a one-bedroom. My 2015 Honda Civic ran perfectly well when my coworkers upgraded to newer models. I packed lunches every day, declined dinner invitations, and turned down weekend trips with friends. Shopping for clothes became an annual event rather than a monthly pleasure. I wore the same 3 professional outfits in rotation washing and ironing them carefully to make them last. My social life revolved around free activities, hiking library events and potluck dinners where I could contribute a $5 side dish. None of this felt like sacrifice because my family's gratitude made every penny worth it. Mom called me their angel during our weekly phone conversations. Dad would tear up when thanking me for making their retirement possible. Danny texted, "Thanks sis, you're the best," every month when tuition payments went through. Martha regularly told me I was her lifesaver, the only thing standing between her and homelessness. I felt needed, valued, essential to their well-being. The numbers in my bank account might have been smaller, but the warmth in my heart felt immeasurable. My family depended on me, and I delivered month after month, year after year. For 7 years, this arrangement worked beautifully, or so I believed. On that Tuesday evening in March, Martha's text message arrived at exactly 7:30 in the evening. I had just finished a dinner of leftover pasta and was settling in to review some client files when my phone chimed. The message contained a 2-minute video with no explanation, which was unusual for Martha, who typically included detailed descriptions of everything she sent. I clicked play, expecting maybe a funny cat video or pictures from her latest job interview. Instead, I found myself looking at Mom's kitchen, the camera positioned near the window that overlooked their backyard. The lighting was dim, suggesting this was recorded in the evening, and I could hear multiple familiar voices in the background. "She's such a pathetic failure, still single at 32. Mom's voice came through, clearly followed by laughter that made my stomach drop. I mean, what kind of woman has no social life, no boyfriend, no real future? Danny's voice joined in young and cruel in a way I had never heard before. At least she's useful for paying our bills. That's literally all she's good for at this point. Aunt Martha's laugh was the sharpest of all. I feel bad sometimes, but hey, free money is free money. She's so desperate to feel important that she'll keep paying forever. Mom's response hit like a physical blow. She thinks she's so important to us. If only she knew, we laugh about her behind her back every time she sends those transfers. Poor sad Lucinda buying herself a family because she can't get a real life. I stared at my phone screen completely frozen. The video continued for another minute, showing my family discussing their upcoming weekend plans that clearly did not include me, funded entirely by money I had sent them just hours before. They talked about Dad's new pickup truck, which he had told me was a gift from an old friend, and Danny's spring break trip to Mexico, which he had somehow forgotten to mention during our last conversation. My hands started shaking so violently that I nearly dropped my phone. I replayed the video 3 times, desperate to find some other interpretation, some way this could be anything other than what it obviously was. Each viewing made it worse. The casual cruelty, the comfortable way they mocked me, suggested this was not their first conversation about my pathetic life. 5 minutes after the original message, Martha sent another text, "Oops, wrong video," meant to send the cute cat one. This second video showed a neighbor's kitten playing with a ball of yarn clearly filmed in a hurry with poor lighting and shaky camera work. I typed back immediately, "What was the first video about?" My phone rang within seconds. Martha's voice sounded panicked, higher than usual, speaking faster than normal. "Oh, honey, that was just... We were talking about someone else. You know how family gossip gets." "Which someone else, Martha?" I heard my name clearly. "Well, just family drama. Nothing about you specifically. I heard you talking about my money, about me being single, about laughing behind my back." Martha stumbled over her words, grasping for explanations that made no sense. Maybe the audio got mixed up somehow. Technology these days is so confusing. Sometimes phones record multiple conversations at once. I hung up without responding, my mind reeling with the implications. If they were comfortable enough to record themselves mocking me, how long had these conversations been happening? How many family gatherings had I missed where I was the main topic of ridicule? I called my best friend, Emma, my voice barely working as I tried to explain what had happened. Emma listened to the entire story before delivering her verdict with characteristic directness. "Honey, that doesn't sound like mixed audio or technical problems. That sounds like your family showing you exactly who they are." As Emma spoke, memories began surfacing with painful clarity. The family barbecue last month that I wasn't invited to, which Mom explained away as just a small thing. Danny posting Instagram photos from expensive restaurants while telling me his food budget was too tight. Dad's casual mentions of purchases that should have been impossible on their limited income. Mom's Facebook posts about vacation planning that never included me in the conversation. I had attributed all of these things to forgetfulness, busy schedules, or simple oversight. Now they formed a pattern of deliberate exclusion funded by my monthly contributions and accompanied by private mockery of my choices. At 9 that evening, I called Mom directly. Her voice immediately shifted to defensive mode even before I explained why I was calling. "What video? I don't know what you're talking about. Mom Martha accidentally sent me something. I heard what you all said about me. Oh, that Lucinda, we were just joking around. You know how family can be sometimes. Joking about calling me a pathetic failure, joking about laughing behind my back." The silence stretched long enough that I wondered if the call had dropped. Finally, Mom spoke again, her tone lacking the warmth and conviction I was used to hearing. "Lucinda, you're overthinking this. We love you. We appreciate everything you do." But her words felt hollow, now delivered with the mechanical precision of someone reciting lines they didn't believe. The easy affection I had taken for granted sounded forced, calculated, designed to maintain the financial arrangement rather than express genuine feeling. I spent that night staring at my ceiling, unable to sleep, replaying 7 years of financial support through this new lens. My calculator app got a workout as I tallied the numbers, nearly $240,000 transferred to my family since I started working. $240,000 that had bought their comfort, their lifestyle, their casual dismissal of my worth as a human being. The opportunity costs hit me like physical blows. The promotion to the New York office that I had declined because I couldn't abandon my family's financial needs. The salary would have been $95,000 with clear advancement opportunities. Mark, the kind, funny architect I had been dating 2 years ago, who slowly drifted away as he realized I prioritized my family's finances over our relationship and any possible future together. The master's degree program in forensic accounting that I had researched extensively but couldn't afford while maintaining my family's lifestyle. Each sacrifice had felt meaningful at the time, evidence of my love and dedication. Now, they felt like the choices of someone too naive to recognize when she was being used. I had been playing the role of family savior while they cast me as the family fool behind my back. By morning, I had decided to test them. I needed to know whether any genuine care existed beneath the financial dependency, or if I was truly nothing more than a convenient bank account with emotions. I called Mom at 8 in the morning, using my most worried voice to deliver news of a fabricated crisis. "Mom, I might have some financial troubles this month. My car broke down and the repair estimate is $1,500. Oh no, what happened to it? The transmission is failing. It's going to be expensive and it might affect my ability to send the usual support this month." Mom's response revealed everything I needed to know. No questions about my transportation to work, no concern about my stress levels, no offers to help research cheaper repair options. Instead, "But the electric bill is due tomorrow. We don't have money for that. Can't you or Dad cover it just this once? I've been helping for 7 years. Honey, we've been depending on you. We've organized our whole budget around your contributions. We don't have that kind of money available." The conversation continued for 10 more minutes, but not once did Mom ask about my well-being, my backup transportation plan, or how I was handling the stress. Her concern focused entirely on maintaining the flow of money she had grown accustomed to receiving. My text exchange with Danny proved equally enlightening. I explained the car situation and mentioned that his tuition payment might be delayed. His response, arriving 3 hours later, contained exactly 0 expressions of sympathy. "That sucks, sis. Hope you figure it out soon?" When I mentioned the upcoming tuition deadline specifically, his tone shifted to panic. "Wait, you can't make the payment, but I already registered for my senior year classes. Danny, maybe this is a good time for you to get a part-time job. Most college students work while studying." "Sis, come on. I'm in my senior year. This is when I need to focus on my grades for graduate school applications. I can't work now." Not a single question about my financial situation, my stress levels, or how I might be managing this crisis. Just immediate concern about how my problems might affect his comfortable lifestyle. Martha's phone call arrived within hours of her conversation with Mom. Her voice carried the sharp edge of genuine panic as she launched into her plea, "Lucinda, you can't stop supporting us now. We've all structured our lives around your help." "I thought you felt bad about taking my money, Martha. At least, that's what you said in the video." The silence that followed lasted long enough for me to count to 20. "I mean, we really do appreciate everything you do for us. Do you? Because the video suggested you appreciate having free money more than you appreciate me as a person." That conversation was taken out of context. We were stressed about other things. What context makes calling me a pathetic failure acceptable, Martha? She hung up without answering. Sitting in the bathroom at my office during lunch break, I experienced what I can only describe as a complete shift in perspective. For 7 years, I had seen myself as the generous family member, the responsible one, the person who made everyone else's life easier. In reality, I had been functioning as an ATM machine with feelings that my family had learned to manipulate when necessary. The realization brought a mixture of devastation and strange relief. Devastating because it meant 7 years of genuine love and sacrifice had been met with mockery and exploitation. Relief because it meant I could finally stop playing a role that had never been appreciated. I canceled all automatic transfers from my phone that afternoon, changed my banking passwords to prevent any accidental payments, screenshot my transaction history showing the full scope of my contributions over 7 years. The total, when calculated precisely, was $237,600. I called Emma during my drive home, needing moral support for the conversation I was about to have. "You're doing the right thing," she assured me. "People who love you don't mock you behind your back while taking your money. You deserve so much better than this." That weekend, I drove to my parents' house carrying printed bank statements and a heart full of nervous determination. The time for testing was over. Now came the reckoning. I found my family gathered in their living room that Saturday afternoon, relaxed and comfortable, in the space my money had helped them maintain. Dad was reading his newspaper in the recliner I had helped them afford. Danny was playing video games on the large television I had contributed to purchasing. Mom was knitting while watching her shows, and Martha was painting her nails at the kitchen table. "We need to talk," I announced, my voice carrying more authority than I had ever used with them before. I pulled out my phone and placed it on the coffee table, the video already loaded and ready to play. "Before anyone says anything, I want you all to watch this." Their faces changed as they recognized their own voices coming from my speaker. Mom went pale. Danny stopped pressing buttons on his controller. Dad slowly lowered his newspaper. Martha's nail polish brush froze in midair. The room fell completely silent as the video played through their cruel commentary about my life, their laughter at my single status, their casual dismissal of my worth beyond my financial contributions. When it ended, the silence stretched so long I could hear the neighbor's lawnmower outside. Effective immediately, I am stopping all financial support. Danny was the first to break the silence, his voice climbing higher with each word. "You can't be serious. I have tuition due next week. You should have thought about that before deciding I was only useful for paying bills." Mom tried her standard approach of tearful manipulation. "Lucinda, we didn't mean it like that. We were just venting about stress." "How exactly did you mean calling me a pathetic failure, Mom?" Dad, who had remained silent through years of accepting my help, finally spoke up. "We made a mistake, Lucinda. We can work this out. A mistake is forgetting someone's birthday or double booking a dinner reservation. This was years of taking my money while mocking my life behind my back." The desperation in their voices escalated as the reality of their situation became clear. Martha began crying, promising to pay back every penny despite having no income. Danny swore he would get a job immediately, though he had spent 4 years explaining why work was impossible during school. Mom offered to cut all unnecessary expenses, apparently forgetting that most of their expenses had been unnecessary because I was covering the necessary ones. "I gave you 7 years of my financial stability, my opportunities, my future plans. In return, you gave me mockery and lies. I think we're even. I walked out while they were still calling my name, still making promises they should have made years earlier, still failing to understand that the problem was never money. It was respect. The aftermath unfolded exactly as I had predicted. My phone rang constantly for the first week with increasingly frantic messages about shut-off notices and unpaid bills. The electricity was disconnected after 2 weeks. Danny was forced to withdraw from 2 classes and find a job at a local restaurant to cover his remaining tuition. Martha moved in with my parents to split living expenses 3 ways. I watched their social media posts change from casual luxury to careful budgeting tips. Dad's pickup truck appeared for sale on Facebook Marketplace. Mom's vacation planning posts disappeared entirely. Martha started sharing job search success stories instead of complaints about unemployment. Meanwhile, my own life expanded in ways I had forgotten were possible. An extra $2,800 monthly opened doors that had been closed for years. I enrolled in the MBA program I had researched, this time focusing on financial fraud investigation. My new apartment had a balcony where I could drink morning coffee while watching the sunrise over downtown Denver. Dating felt possible again when I didn't have to explain why 40% of my income disappeared into family obligations. I met James, a software engineer with kind eyes and a genuine laugh, who was fascinated by my stories of international travel plans rather than frustrated by my inability to afford dinner out. That first trip to Europe, wandering through museums in Paris and hiking through Scottish Highlands, felt like reclaiming parts of myself I had forgotten existed. I discovered photography, learned to cook Thai food, and joined a hiking club where people knew me as the woman with great organizational skills rather than the family ATM. Therapy helped me understand the difference between helping and enabling, between family loyalty and family exploitation. My therapist helped me recognize patterns I had learned in childhood about earning love through usefulness patterns that had made me vulnerable to people who confused taking with receiving. 6 months after cutting off financial support, I received a letter from Mom. Not a text, not a quick call, but an actual handwritten letter that must have taken her considerable time to compose. She apologized for the video, for the years of taking me for granted, for not recognizing the sacrifices I had made or the person I was beyond my financial contributions. She didn't ask for money. She didn't make promises about changed behavior. She simply acknowledged that they had failed me as a family and that she understood why I had walked away. It was the first communication that felt genuine since this whole situation began. I chose not to respond immediately. Forgiveness, I learned, is not the same as reconciliation. Healing doesn't require maintaining relationships with people who cause the wounds. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for yourself is establish boundaries that protect your well-being, even when those boundaries disappoint people you care about. The woman who had spent 7 years buying her place in the family was gone. In her place stood someone who understood that real love doesn't require payment plans, that genuine relationships survive financial boundaries, and that sometimes the people who call themselves your family are the ones who most need to earn that title. My bank account grew steadily for the first time in years. My future stretched ahead, filled with possibilities I had chosen rather than obligations others had assigned me. The girl who had always been the responsible one learned that the most responsible thing she could do was take responsibility for her own happiness. Sometimes the people who call you family are the ones who need to learn how to treat family members with actual respect. And sometimes the best gift you can give yourself is permission to stop being everyone else's solution to problems you didn't create. Have you ever found yourself supporting people who didn't appreciate your sacrifices? What would you have done in my situation? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that like button if this story resonated with your own experiences. Please subscribe for more real stories about family dynamics and personal growth, and share this with someone who might need to hear it. Thank you for listening to my story. And remember that you deserve relationships built on mutual respect, not financial dependency. You are worth more than what you can provide for others.